Trustee Wendell?
Here.
Trustee Twitchell?
Here.
Okay, thank you. Take a look at resolutions. Number 1, awarding of water meters for the DPW. Number 2, awarding of metered automotive fuels. Number 3, awarding bid of liquefied gas chlorine. Number 4, awarding bid for synthetic flocculant. Number 5, award bid for ferric chloride. Number 6, award bid for polyaluminum chloride. Didn't know I'd be doing a science experiment tonight. Number 7, award bid for polyorthophosphate. Award bid for polycationic polymer, number 8. Number 9, Police Benevolent Association Collective Bargaining Agreement, up for approval.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I never received the latest agreement.
Nothing changed, it's the same thing.
I want to see a copy of it.
There's one in you.
There's one in there, and we also got it,
We
like,
got it a couple weeks ago.
a couple
I
meetings
said it on
ago.
your, Michelle, it's
that what
right
this
in that
is?
file right there.
I didn't get a
Yes.
chance to review it, so
We-
I want to table it.
We got it a couple weeks ago, and we
Yeah,
tabled it.
and we didn't get a chance
Okay.
to talk about it.
We could talk about it
It's everything that we
during,
had talked
right
about
now.
in executive sessions.
Yeah, we can talk about it now. We've had that for a couple weeks now. And the last time we tabled it, because we wanted the attorney to take a look at it. So we all had it. It's the exact same
Yeah.
agreement that we had way back then.
Nothing changed
Nothing
between
has
that
changed.
and now.
So we sent it to the attorney.
I
She
know.
took a- She took a look at it,
Yep.
and she's fine with it. We've had it for weeks.
This is 2.5% plus 2.5%?
2.5% in June or whatever, and then 6 months later, another 2.5%.
Correct.
It's a two-year contract.
We discussed it.
We did.
Number 10, Angela McCoyak for summer recreation approval. Number 11, vendor law approval.
There was a, and I received a couple calls, probably we all have, there was a question as to where that 100-foot would take us. There was fear, there was concern that it would eliminate some of the park. So Tom Kosky measured it from Park Place, from the corner of Park Place, the building, to the gazebo. It's 150 feet, so you can move 50 feet back from that. There will be no place in the park that will be excluded because of that 100-foot requirement.
Well, I do have a little concern if a business is placed over near the post office and we have vendors in that section during some of the festivals or during the food market, I'd like to add to the exemption section that organized events such as the farmers market or festivals will not be subject to the 100-foot setback. Just throwing that
Are
out.
you referring to exclusively the east side of the park?
I'm referring to anywhere in the park.
Anywhere.
During the farmers market, I'd like to exempt organized events that we've given permission to from the 100-foot
I
setback.
believe from the grass on Parkside to the front door is less than 100 feet, correct?
Well, I think, Ben, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's probably less than 100 feet from where the current town of Pomfret offices are now to the park.
Right.
And right now, it's fine, it's not a business. But if a
Right.
business were to move in there, then that might be.
And there
impacted.
was, during the farm festival last year, there was vending in the street over there next to Park Place.
Actually, the farmers came back because of that and are very appreciative of it. And we're looking forward to coming back. They have their carts and things, they can't get them up on the sidewalk, so instead of being in front of the church here, they're around that corner, which is why they closed that street down. So technically, the street's closed down for the weekend anyhow, so it's not
But
like
the
we're
street is
creating
gonna be
something.
within 100 feet of a business, so I think we need to add that section to the exemption section, 198-14.
Okay, do we want to table it then today to have that edited?
I think that's probably a good idea.
All right.
I hate to
number
push it
11 will
off
be
further,
tabled.
but We also need to have resolutions for the fee and for the duration of the license,
Correct.
so we're gonna need that,
Well, yeah,
Those will be separate resolutions though.
yeah.
yeah, the fee is separate from that law because it says
Right,
fees
it's-
will be set by
Yes.
trustees.
But it would be good to have those resolutions ready to go.
So we'll be tabling number 11.
Well, it might be, when do you want to talk about fees?
I mean, it's a workshop, you got
Yeah.
a chance to
Talk
do it
about it
now.
now.
Do it now.
Yeah,
What are they now?
well, there really isn't one, is there?
For vendors?
Vendor fee?
That's not a food truck?
We said $50.
Yeah.
I think that's
A
a,
few weeks ago, we said $50.
I don't like
When I
that.
did the application. And as far as the duration, March 31st, just like the food trucks.
so 1 year,
Yeah, it's one,
or until,
could be less than 1 year, you get it in September. And it follows the food truck law. It's good from April 1st till March 31st.
So that would be the same for the $50, just because we're concerned about the farmer's market who comes here every week, that it wouldn't be $50 per week on top of what they're.
No, it's for the whole season. It's just like the food truck.
And
and the law does exempt farmers selling food products
Okay.
from the fee.
That was the question that was raised from the farmer's market. I don't know if all of us got that letter, but I did and I responded to it. I cited the exemption portion of the vendor law so that it did exempt farmer's market. They had a lot of concern, but I explained what we did.
It'll accept the farmers at the farmer's market.
The
but
farmers.
Vendors there wouldn't be accepted, I would
Yeah, if they're selling shoes, jewelry, books,
You're saying other than food?
other than food.
The farmers themselves, if they got vegetables and stuff, yes, I can understand that. But if they're out there selling T-shirts and hats and stuff like that, I would say that they're not exempt.
If they're paying a fee every week to be part of the farmer's market,
yeah,
are we going to charge them another fee?
right.
I mean, this probably should all been discussed a long time
Yeah.
ago.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, that's why we're
Should have been
talking about.
discussed when the law was invented 3 years
We're at
ago.
the end of
You're
this,
right.
and we're getting all discussion now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Because-
I don't know what the farmers charge, I don't care what the farmers charge. This is our law, and,
Right.
you know, I mean,
And it would be a
I don't
one-time.
understand.
I think we're going to have some
Forgive me for being
issues.
frustrated, because right about now, we wouldn't be able to force it this year. By the time the state gets it back. by
I
the
was
time we
just gonna
approve
say
it,
that.
We might have done it for
Yeah.
another year, which is fine by me, I don't
Yeah.
care. But, just.
Right.
I mean, all these questions should have been hashed out a long time ago.
There was a request from the farmer's market that we, wait until next year to charge people.
Didn't they say that last year?
Everybody, I mean,
Maybe
everybody
it
already
does.
has
Well,
I
their,
remember they did.
has their stuff now anyway.
It seems to me though, see, I was at the farmer's market, so that's what I'm speaking about. And they approached me and they said, Michelle, if we have to pay an added fee, we just won't come.
No,
won't
what is
have-
that, a food vendor or?
No, people that are selling other items other than farm food. Right. They will just refuse to come.
I guess my concern is why is the farmer's market charging anything if they're using our product, our water, our electric?
Because they have
Helps
to
pay
pay
for their
for
insurance.
a certificate of liability
It's
that
not,
costs them $500. That's what I was told.
and I don't think it's unlike Festivals Fredonia charging vendors to be part of their festivals as well.
Correct.
So during during the events that they do have, they're already paying, and I don't know what Festival of Fredonia charges them, but I think it's not insignificant.
It was 300, I just heard somebody, and don't quote me, but I wasn't sure if the farmer's market or if it's, Festivals for Fredonia is charging $400 for a vendor, for a food truck or a vendor to participate in
Yeah, so adding a fee on top of that just
Yeah,
doesn't.
I know.
So maybe we should exempt organized events like festivals and farmers markets from the fee
Right.
entirely.
Because I did speak with Larry from Festivals Fredonia, and he said it just wouldn't be fair for people to pay
No.
an extra fee.
We do that with
I-
food trucks.
I do have a problem
They do
with
pay that.
them calling it unfair for us to charge a fee.
I know.
Because we actually have to do work for these vendors that we then have to pay our employees for
You mean for the cleanup?
cleanup, for the inspection when they set up.
What I'm going to ask, because I've lived here 38 years now, and this is probably the 100th time I've heard about food truck and vendors laws, I'm going to ask for the formation of a committee, not only with members of the board, but if we want to have members of the farmers market, if you so choose, I'll let the board decide who it is, but we really need to dig into this and as Chuck said, come to some final resting place for these laws, because ironically, the vendor law it's not the food truck law.
No.
And we're already getting into food truck season. So the whole thing is way overcomplicated, and I'd like the board to consider a committee to address this. If we have to research it, be happy to get research from other communities and be done with it once and for all.
Well, I think that what's making it
It's
complicated is
the
we're trying to be
cost.
nice and accommodate other people, and I think we just need to be done doing that, to be honest. That sounds harsh and that sounds kind of mean, but I mean, Festivals Fredonia isn't taking the village into consideration when they're charging their fee. We're trying to be nice, and it's making it way complicated, and we're essentially exempting then everybody who would then fall under this law. So either we do it or we don't, is where I'm
Right.
at.
Yeah.
So,
We either have 45 minutes to continue to discuss it now, or whatever you want to do.
We could
Well,
bring it up for a
is it-
vote and
Is it before us right now
No.
to establish a fee?
No,
No.
not the
No,
fee
it's
not.
nor the duration.
it is not.
the duration I
Right.
think is fine. It's, it's a
Yeah.
calendar year.
So we could
It's-
establish any fee we want.
Right, but it's the
It could be
fee that's
less.
going to influence who's going to be in the park. Believe me, I was there, I don't think anyone else was there last Saturday, and I heard a lot about it, and they're not happy.
That a one-time
And-
$50 fee would keep them from participating in the farmer's market.
I guess
They
I'm
will move the whole farmer's market, from what I understand.
I guess I'm confused
If that
about what they would be
happens.
upset about, because there's nothing in the law that said we're going to charge a fee. So what do they have to be upset about?
I sent them a copy of this, and I told them we haven't come to that point now. But right now, we're discussing it.
Right.
And they're going to hear this fee of $50. And they're not going to be happy about it. I'm passing the word on to the board here
Okay.
about how people are feeling.
How many non-food vendors did you see at the, I'm sure you didn't take account, but is there a lot of them or just a few?
There's quite a few.
And it's-
Yeah,
it's-
I think there's more than there are farmers growing food.
It's
Correct.
farm and food product, so that's anything that they're taking, and it's dictated by the Ag and Market Law.
That's right, Agricultural and Markets Law, Section 260.
So it's probably more of the farmer's market that's covered under that law than just people selling straight up produce.
Correct. So it's food-based.
Farm and food product, so like if you raise alpacas and make a bunch of scarves, that's your farm's product. You would be exempt.
Say that again?
If you raise alpacas and you make, I
Oh.
don't know, scarves out of their
Okay.
whatever,
Right.
That's your farm's product.
Well, there isn't anyone that does that.
But I'm saying, like, just
Yeah.
as an example, it's not just food.
Right.
It's your farm's product.
Right. But presently, I don't know if you've been to the farmer's market lately, but I see a lot of people that would have to pay $50 from what we're talking about right now. And they verbally told me they just will not be here then.
Michelle, can you, if you plan on being there on Saturday, is Kathy the president of?
Kathy Peterson
Yeah,
is
she's
the
like
president, right.
If you can get a.
She was very vocal.
An estimate from
Very
her, how
vocal
many.
about this.
How many people how many vendors she thinks might be impacted if we do impose a fee, I would like to hear what that number is.
I thought that was a qualification to being part of the farmer's market, is that
You have to make your own product. So people do make their own. She knits things. She doesn't make it out of alpaca, but she
Oh, I see what you're saying. They're
makes
not all
hats.
farms, but they have to
She
produce
makes
something.
candles, right.
Yeah.
But they're not from farmers.
Okay.
Makes
I think
sense.
we have to be careful with this because
Yeah. I
we
don't
just
wanna
won't
step
have
all
a
over
farmer's
them.
market.
Well, it could implode very easily.
Right,
And we want
exactly.
to prevent that.
I'm also concerned that,
Exactly.
you know, a lot of the vendors that come to, say, the Farm Festival or one of the other festivals only come to that event. And we're going to charge them for an annual license on top of what they're paying Festivals Fredonia or the
Right.
Farm Festival.
And
you know,
Larry
that's a lot.
Fiorella, he requested, he said, Michelle, can you ask the board maybe to wait until next year to do this? Because I know,
They'll
I'd
ask that.
rather
Label
build an
be the same
exemption
next
year.
into the
Telling you
rule
what-
than,
Folks, we got a whole full schedule of where we're going.
I know,
with this.
but this is important to discuss now.
Well, some of the people, and I agree, I love the farmer's market, I'd love to keep it the way it is, but I've also seen people who are vendors in the farmer's market pay Larry Fiorella's rate and are at the farm festival. So, I mean, there's an argument to that point as well. One way or another, we need to come to a final decision eventually is what
Agreed.
we're doing with this.
Agreed.
We're already in the throes of summer, we went through 6 months of winter, and now it's festival season and we're still talking about the vendor law.
So
Yes.
I think this won't be enforceable for this year anyway. So let's work on the exemption, your edit to the exemption. I think that's the only exemption we should have at this point, and then we'll work on a separate fee
Fee schedule?
schedule and list out specific exemptions within that fee schedule. But let's get the law passed, because
Thank you.
that's what has to go to New York State and takes the longest.
And also, just so there's not any disruption, this is not Larry Fiorella's fee, it's the fee for Festivals Fredonia or a fee
Correct.
for the Farm Festival.
Right.
They're made up of separate boards, so there are entire boards that work for it. So I don't want to beat up Mr. Fiorella, who does good work
Right,
for our community.
I happened to see him Saturday, and
That's
he
okay.
told me that, so I'm just
doubt.
passing.
so
That
for now,
information
we'll
on.
table the vendor law and let's move on.
Come up with some
Well,
language. that
can't we
can-
still pass that vendor law without the fee,
No, there was the.
Yes, but there's the exemption of the 100 feet.
the exemption?
Do you want to
Yeah.
shorten that to? Did you want to shorten it, or do you just want to exempt the park?
I want to exempt organized events in the area of the park because
Okay.
they could be in the streets if we have the street closed,
Yeah.
you know, and that would definitely put them within the range.
So you were referencing to the entire boundary of the park, that is east and west.
Whatever the boundary
Main Street
is of the
and-
event that
event.
we give them,
Yeah, I mean, we have to be specific about
Yeah.
that. right?
Yeah, the sanctioned event.
Okay, why don't you come up with some language and
yeah.
give it to us?
I'm cringe when I say this, but
Go
any
ahead.
change to that law, would have to go back to public hearing again, wouldn't it?
I know, that's what I'm
I
thinking.
mean, we'd have to
Yeah.
redo the public hearing.
We'll
all
have
over
to have
again,
another
which,
public hearing.
At the last public hearing, not one person except for me was here.
Right.
Yeah.
So where are all these people that were so upset about the vendors law? Because they certainly didn't come out and speak. They didn't come to the planning board except for the farmer's market.
They told me
It was fine
they
with
did.
them.
Right.
I mean, we're dictating our laws for 5 people. And it's, you do what you want, but the $50 fee, the board discussed that a month and a half ago. We had $10 on the application. The board said, oh no, $50. And you guys all voted on it. So I'm
We
not
didn't
sure
vote
where
on
all of
it
a
yet.
sudden the problem is. I don't care, it's less work for me. So, but there must be a history of this. This is because you have people out there cooking food That's not fair to the food truck guys who are paying $150. They're popping up a tent and cooking hamburgers and hot dogs and stuff like that in there. That's how, one of the reasons why the vendors law started. You got a guy that's doing hot dogs out front of a restaurant, and I can't do anything about it. He's not a food truck. He's just selling hot dogs. But you got another guy who has a license on his thing, and he has to pay $150. So we just
Yeah, that
gotta
was-
get some resolution to this and stop worrying about.
That was the goal of this, was to make it more fair across all
Right,
boards.
that's
Structure.
We're kind of losing track of that, I think.
And I think Chuck makes a good point that if we have to do another public hearing, then we're gonna have to pay to,
Right,
Get
to
that in
put
the
that in the
paper.
paper,
Yes.
right.
and
That's true.
put it off for another 2-3 weeks. So let's bring it up for vote today in its current form.
If I'm not mistaken, I think the planning board's actually reviewed this several
They have.
How many times,
Yeah.
right,
Yes.
And
for over a year now,
they
right.
Okay, number 12, Town of Pomfret water application. Number 13, tax. go ahead.
Excuse me, I wanted to know, was that a business that wanted
Yes.
water? What was the name of the business?
I think they're doing it under the business name, but it's a residential application.
O'Reilly?
Oh, well, see.
So Raleigh Auto Parts, I thought,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct.
which is actually, it's in the, where Value used to be, the 4 stores in the Value.
So it's worded as residential.
Does, this should be coming in as a commercial.
Right.
It does say commercial.
Does it?
Where?
Approves the commercial water service connection. Yep. Application for
Oh, in the
commercial water
resolution? Okay.
service.
Okay.
So it is.
Right? Highway Supervisor School approval.
Number 13?
Yep. No, 14. Highway
Highway.
Supervisor School
Did
approval.
we skip 13?
No, I didn't. Tax relevy, I did, I apologize. You're right, Paul. Number 13, tax relevy resolution. Any discussion?
The one thing I'd like to bring up about this is, Melissa, I know that you provide the monthly treasurer report.
Yep.
One thing I was thinking about today is, like, is anything in graphic form, or is it all in text form?
I can put graphs.
I was wondering if you could, like, provide bar graphs. So, for example, overtime for each department. It's so much easier to look at a bar graph and just compare month to month, or any other metric that you could provide.
Sure.
That'd be great. Thank you. That's all.
Okay, thank you. So once again, 14, Highway Supervisor School approval. Number 15, summer recreation fees. The board,
So there's an individual that has raised $7,000 from different donations that will be paying for everybody's registration. There's
It
also,
totals 350.
there was also a $5,000 donation from the Mac Hughes Foundation that he wants to be used, that foundation wants that to be used for supplies. I asked them to get hold of Kayla and see what it is she might need.
I
know-
spoke with Kayla
Did ya?
today about that.
Did
Just-
she mention the playground equipment that was not in great shape?
There could be a possibility for that, but we want to take a look and see how this money should be spent, whether to enhance the programs over the summer or to repair equipment. Because I think the people that gave the money really, had good intentions about helping children attend this program. So that's why they gave the $7,000. But anything above that, we could take a look at to see, just as you said, if we want to make any repairs or.
As long as that $5,000 from the Mac Hughes Foundation specifically was earmarked for recreation supplies or equipment.
Correct.
So that's, yeah,
Because we did cut that out of our budget,
right.
the supplies. And I spoke with Kayla today about
Yep.
that. And I know the town of Pomfret is looking at, they would like to have half of that money. And I don't know how that would work. I mean, that's
Isn't it a joint program?
something.
It's a joint program.
It's a
between
joint program. They pay just a little over $50,000, and so do we. So, and that's to pay for the people that are working at the playground. And so that part has already been taken care of, but
Right.
it is split.
So that we can get more detail on this, I have asked the gentleman who did this work, and we want to thank, I think it's pretty well known as Mr.
Sure.
Gullo. I've asked Mr. Gullo if he can meet with Alyssa and I and whoever else wants to meet with us, so that we have a clear picture of where the money is to be used, and also how it's to be transferred to the village, to the town. So
Right.
he's
I've been in
assured us that.
contact with him and Kayla, and Mayor, we'd like to meet and discuss that, definitely.
Okay.
I would make sure there's someone from Pomfret was there as well.
Ann Uckman will be there.
They will be there.
Okay.
Yes.
But just so people know, and I'll be reiterating this during our meeting, we want to thank, and we can't mention everybody's name at this point, but we want to thank the people of the Village of Fredonia and some of the surrounding businesses for stepping up. And because of that, there'll be no fee for this year's summer recreation program.
Well, no, there's still going to be a fee. It's just going to be
It's just
covered
be paid,
by
yeah.
It's being covered.
donation.
Yes.
Budget transfer for cable equipment, number 16.
This is coming out of a grant. This is not village.
Correct, those are from the
Right.
grant,
Right.
franchise grant.
I'm assuming number 17, cable equipment is also included in that, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, that's the
That's
actual
it.
purchase.
Number 18, fire chief, out-of-town travel. Number 19,
Do we really need to send Josh there? I mean, the purpose of that is to watch a recruit.
Leadership is traditionally
Graduate.
always gone. I think it.
Well, I'm just thinking of our budget and how we're trying to save money. I know it's only $130, but is it really necessary?
For morale, I think it is.
I'm just looking at the money side of it, I guess.
It's budgeted.
It's budgeted, so you have training,
There's money in travel and
travel.
training, plenty of money left, yes.
And is that in this year's budget?
Yes.
Okay.
number 19, abstracts.
Yes, I did have some questions about some of these abstracts. I'm sorry, I tried to meet with you today, but I noticed you were busy. And, you know, just to answer some questions about these large amounts. The fifth one down, 33,000, sewage treatment personnel to employee benefit, hospital and medical. Was that to cover the insurance?
Yes, there were some people who changed whether they weren't taking insurance and then decided to take insurance partway through the year, and then we had hired individuals,
Okay.
same thing, yeah.
Thank you. And then three below that, $30,000 from purification personnel to purification supplies. Was that because of the cost of everything going up?
Yes, and we needed more chemicals, more
Okay.
testing.
Right, right,
That's
And-
required by the Department of Health.
exactly.
Alyssa
And
had, excuse me, I just
Oh,
want
go
to ask
ahead.
Alyssa, how has the price of chemicals been? I know it's been going up, is that correct?
Yes, that's
Over the
right.
last couple of years? I mean, is
Pretty
it,
much since COVID.
is it a steep rate of increase, would you say?
The last year or so, it's pretty much kind of leveled off.
I
It's
see.
still going up a little bit, but not like
But
it did.
prior to last year, it had gone up quite a bit.
Significantly,
Okay.
yes.
I think he said chlorine went up 30% one year,
Yeah,
so,
that was great.
yeah.
Just to clarify, you're looking at the budget transfers, right?
Correct.
Not at the abstracts? Okay. Those are two
Any
different
other
things.
discussion on abstracts?
And one more, I'm not done yet. Second one from the bottom, 61,000, installment purchase, fire truck, to installment purchase interest.
The, interest in the,
I'm sorry, I don't mean to put you on the spot here like this. I was gonna come see you today to find out these answers.
the interest and the principal were just swapped around, that's all it was.
Is that what
Yeah.
that's about? Okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. 20 Canvas firefighter civil service list.
That's the Tim Winters replacement?
Yeah, this would be for the individual who's retired in June. You know,
Are we canvassing for firefighter, paramedic, or firefighter EMT, or just, what do we, anything and
I think us hiring
everything?
paramedics is gone. I mean, every hire is gonna be just like the current hire, that we're gonna have to send to medic school. So this, the reason it's coming to you now is because the next fire academy starts the end of July. So I really need to put these things in motion. So if we're gonna hire, you know, everything's all set up, we hire, and then they go to the academy in June. This individual would not start until the retiring individual was gone. So it's a one for one. And really the cost is a lot less too, because the guy retiring is top step firefighter, so.
I did have a question. In his retirement letter, he does state something about he may retire or a possibility of him staying on.
He has the right to withdraw at any point.
Well, that's what I'm questioning. Are we going to have an extra fireman then?
No, like I just mentioned, this resolution is for a replacement of him. So if he does not go, then no one gets hired.
Okay. Thank
And
you.
I would like to reiterate that, you know, this is a necessity based on the current staffing minimum requirements that we have presently. Should that change, then we can take another look at that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, budget transfer number 21.
Alyssa, could you just elaborate on, I believe that is, part of that is the fire truck purchase,
She
right?
just,
She did
She
just
just did.
explain that.
Right, oh, because it's a swap, that's
Yeah,
all
it's
you're
just
saying?
The interest and the
Okay.
principal were on spot.
Okay, thank you.
We have one other walk-on due to an emergency. I'll read this. Whereas the village requires a new hot water tank for the fire department, which technical terms went kablooey the other day. Whereas Pro Drain Cleaning and Plumbing in Fredonia, New York provided a quote for commercial hot water tank and installation for the amount of $4,200. And whereas the hot water tank is suitable for the village's purpose, therefore be it resolved, the village board authorizes payment for the hot water tank and installation at the fire department, the amount of $4,200 for Pro Drain Cleaning and Plumbing. So that resolution has been put into your packets for review.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's this one.
Is there any discussion on that? We move to reports.
There were, just of note, there were 3 bids that the chief got, and this is the lowest bid.
Okay. We move to department reports, code enforcement.
We have a zoning board meeting tomorrow night, 2 cases, and then the planning board meets next week. They'll finalize the battery storage spot and hopefully finish the cannabis regulations. We're working on that. The hospital is ready to go, so they put out another month. And we're just starting now to really get into our property maintenance. Because of the wet season, we've kind of held off on grass cutting, but we'll be out there now starting to grass and cut stuff. So, yeah.
Thank you. DPW?
Yeah, we've been busy trying to get caught up in spring cleanup and mowing and everything. The weather's been pretty rough, as Chuck just mentioned, but I think we've got a good handle on things. We're going to start our annual flush of fire hydrants next Monday, so that'll last for 2 weeks. There'll be some ads in the paper, try to let everybody know that the water could be a little stirred up, in the morning when they get up to, flush a toilet or something. But our goal is to flush out the water main so the water's clean. It's an annual thing we do every year. Should last about 2 weeks.
Also, a reminder to people that the state will be resurfacing Route 20 or Main Street in the next few days here.
Yeah, so I talked to the contractor on that. They have a lot of prop work to do, so you probably won't see a milling machine for a month or so.
Okay.
They got to do some bump outs. They have to do some drainage inlets. So there's going to be work out there, but the actual paving probably won't be, for at least a month or so.
Okay. Speaking of Route 20, you're all tired of me saying this, but again, personal experience the other day, right in front of Triaga's, we have a crosswalk. 2 days ago, there was a young man on a bicycle, stopped at the crosswalk, had his tire ready to go across the street. I stopped my vehicle. Fortunately, the man in the truck behind me stopped just short of my bumper, and 7 people continued, despite the fact that I was laying on my horn, flashing my lights. The young man thought that there was a clearing, and as he's crossing the street, somebody came back over the top and nearly missed him by 3 feet. Mr. Dreo, I witnessed a couple of months ago, same situation, nearly got run over, missed by inches. It is the law in every state of New York that if there's someone at a crossroad ready to cross, you must stop your vehicle and allow them to do so. It's not a suggestion. It is the law. So once again, please be aware of it. Tell your friends, because there's a lot of people that don't know. But it is a law. You can be written up for that. And we want to address this before we get someone hurt. And I was told that young lady got hit a couple of years ago. So just stop. We realize it's a state highway. We realize you see big yellow yield signs. You can see the lines in the street. We're working on a couple of things that we may be able to add to it to enhance it. We have to get the permission from New York State to do so. But once again, it doesn't matter if you're in New York State, doesn't matter if in Pennsylvania, doesn't matter if you're in Florida. It's the law. So please make sure you follow it. Fire department.
You heard from the resolution. We had our tank, the hot water tank go. Thank you, Alyssa, for working with me to get that fixed. Guys were out without hot water for about a week, so. With the board's permission, I'd like the mayor to assist me next meeting. I'd like to give 2 of my guys awards for a remarkable job that they did at a call. And we were recognized by the hospital, so I would like to, in return, recognize them. So
When's your next meeting, Ben?
this next meeting,
Oh, okay, that
Or-
can do that.
2 weeks and 1 day.
Sounds good.
And then the local 2931 routed at MOA. I don't know if you shared that with the rest of the board, but I don't know if we're talking about that in executive session tonight or another night.
No, I had asked for Alyssa to price that out.
Today, I have a lot of information I can share. I don't know if time would allow for an executive session for that tonight, or,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, we're not, because we're not acting on it at this meeting because
Correct.
I hadn't gotten the information
Okay.
yet, so. Yeah.
That's all I have, thank you.
Is that it?
That's all I have, yes.
Okay, before I announce this next department, I want to thank Chief Price, as well as the Fredonia Fire Department, College Police, State Police, County Sheriff, and we'll thank God there for a little bit of rain, a little bit of cold. The first time in better part of, Chief, maybe 3 or 4 years, not a major incident. As promised, it shows the collaboration between communities when people say things can't be done. Last year, we were told could not put the farm festival together, and a group of people did so, And this year, we were told you'd never stop Fred Fest. I want to thank the college and Dr. Collison, as well as the students who not only worked on this with us, but also came out on Sunday morning and cleaned up Canada Way Street and also White Street. So despite what you may hear from time to time, 95% or 98% of the students at Fredonia State are good people who live in our community as well. So with that, Chief Price, your report.
What I'll say about the weekend was there was an article this Saturday in the editorial page of the Observer. The Observer's view clearly stated what occurred. I 100% agree with that article. At this point, I just want to thank, there was a lot of people that took care of us that weekend. The catering company, Krista Campaign, Sean Heenan, Fredonia Heating and Plumbing, Amy and Dan Lebedusky, Steve St. George, Lauren Boyle, Nicole Syracuse. Then there's many who just did not want to be mentioned, but they fed a lot of police officers and took care of our needs this weekend. That was greatly appreciated. I did have one casualty this weekend. It was a 2025 truck that's had 110,000 miles on it. That's my utility truck. That's what we pull a sign around with and use for large events. It needs so much work between the brakes, battery, ball joint, and a couple tie rods that I'm not sure it's worth putting that money into it for what the vehicle's worth, so that'll have to be evaluated. But right now, I won't put anybody in that truck in the shape it's in. But you need to be aware of that's another vehicle that's sidelined. Patrolman Lawson started today at Alfred State Police Academy. So hopefully by September we'll have him on the road training here with us. I noticed in the new business there's no mention about the meters on East Main Street.
Yeah, I'm gonna bring that up.
Okay, I would just, it is my suggestion that 7 meters east of White Street be removed, 5 on the north side, 2 on the south side, and each of those meters be replaced with 2 hour parking. That is my suggestion, and that's where I'll end my report.
Thank you. Recreation Department, do you have anything else?
Yes, I spoke with Kayla this evening, and she said she's wrapping up her hiring, and she will have a list of names for us at our next board meeting, so we can go through those names and hire the Recreation Department workers that we'll need this summer.
Thank you. Wastewater treatment plant.
This past Monday with the heavy rains, the drains near the Headworks building were unable to handle all the groundwater runoff from the fields by the plant. We had some flooding inside of the Headworks building caused by the drainage. We set up a pump to pump it down, and the DPW came in with the vac truck and helped us out with that. The flooding did not affect the plant operations or the flow to the plant, but so we're just finding ways to mitigate that in the future.
Thank you. I'd like to thank, by the way, the DPW, the police, the fire, and a lot of area plumbing companies. Ironically, the bulk of the flooding happened at the highest elevation of the community, up on top of Barry, Johnson, Barnett, Madison. I mean, we had it everywhere. Gardner was up over my tires at one point, and the community came together. I want to thank Trustee Wendell and members of his church for going and helping people clean out their basements and get things done in that nature. It was another example of the community working together, and everywhere we went, and I was out on the road till probably 12:30 that night, we had police, fire, and DPW helping. So thank you, and hopefully we don't have to go through that again for a while. Wastewater, water treatment plant.
Nothing to report.
That's good news. New business, Gugino proposal.
Yes, I requested a proposal about repairing the sewage line down in the basement. And I spoke with Rick Davis from the Opera House, and he said over the summer would be a good time to do this because he isn't expecting any crowds in the summer. But just to prepare us in the fall, I feel that we should look at this repair. And I'm asking Alyssa if we would be able to have enough money in our budget. I know this doesn't cover carpeting though either.
That was my only question,
That
is
was-
what that
Right.
what that would entail and what we need to cover. I don't know exactly where down
Assuming
there.
multi evidence room,
For the Gugino,
carpeting.
The plumbing issue down in the basement.
My understanding, it's my interview room.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
We would like to look into repairing this summer because it would be an opportunity to do it before we have a number of people coming back in the fall attending Opera House events. Because from what I understood at the last Opera House, attendance of hundreds of people came, and there was a really bad issue. The toilets overflowed. It was a real mess. And I believe Scott had to help out. Were you called to help out in that situation too?
Yeah, we called Gugino just
Right.
to try to snake it out, and that's what we've done for
Right.
forever.
So, I mean, it costs $500 to snake it out, I mean, why don't we just fix it? Let's
Snake,
just,
we've cambered, we've done it all.
Yeah,
Right.
it's been an
Still
ongoing
happens.
problem, and
I think it's an ongoing issue.
Until we do the
Right,
actual repair, it's gonna keep happening.
Yeah.
I agree.
right.
Bite the bullet and do it.
Not that long ago. Within 20 years, which isn't that old.
Right,
It's
correct.
safe to see you spend however much money it is. And
Well, I don't want to
that
have
happens.
another flooding issue though,
Is it
because,
undersized for the?
I guess what I'm saying is, maybe it's time to take a good look and see if it needs to be a bigger sewer lateral to handle that, all the way out to the main.
I think it's undersized for that bathroom thing.
do you?
I think, yeah.
Should we take a look at it further
Now
then,
we're
Scott?
paying for a
Yeah.
larger bathroom.
Yeah, it would be one thing if it was a $600 repair, but I think it's.
Right.
48.
Yeah.
So, and keep in mind, if it's over 30, we need to put it out to bid.
It's 4,800.
Oh, okay.
Also, speaking of keeping in mind, there's been extensive damage done to the Opera House during the course of this winter. There's been extensive damage done to Judge Series' ceiling. We talk about an old building. There has been considerable amount of water, snow, ice. I went up into the roof with the Opera House team, and literally thick ice all over the place, and water was pouring in big 10-gallon drums of garbage cans and had to be taken down the stairs. We really have to address this roof issue. I guess the company that we had in the past failed to live up to its warranty, fails to address the work on it. I've had companies from Jamestown come in. It's going to be a sizable issue. It's something that we're probably going to have to try to bid out or get grants for, because it's there was 3 floors of damage in the Opera House alone, plus the roof damage. And then again, Judge Series' roof collapsed inside as well. So it's not just one side, the other. Part of it's the Yankee gutters, which has been a discussion for many years. So it's something that's going to come up very quickly, and I hope that we don't wait until this coming winter to kind of come up with some type of plan as to what we're going to do.
Alyssa, can you see if there's any grants available for historic preservation?
And also, we did have Farrell Roofing, we paid them to come and to take a look at all of our roofs, and we never did receive any pictures of that, correct,
Correct.
Alyssa?
I remember seeing a report, but then what I remember also happening was then when we said, okay, so like, these, there are at least some of these repairs that are covered in this, whatever they called it, package, and they said, oh, no, nothing is covered. So we essentially paid a lot of money for them to assess our roof and then
Well,
want to charge us
also,
further.
I would like to get copies of those pictures.
I remember, like I said, I remember getting them.
I had asked them
No.
to email them to me also, and I never.
She never
got
received them. I asked her about
Yeah,
it.
I know we didn't get them
Right.
digital, but I feel like I remember seeing, because there were like boxes of, you know, this is a major issue, this is not, this is whatever, and then when we asked them, okay, so what of these repairs are covered under this, whatever you called this, they said nothing. You'd have to
They
pay
didn't
extra
wanna-
for every
They didn't
single
actually want to
repair.
go up there, so they used a drone.
Yeah,
They didn't want to get on the roof.
Correct.
They-
Yeah.
it's-
Right.
Unfortunately,
thing
there's
was
so high, we've had to
incredibly-
use the fire department's ladder truck to get up into the roof before.
yeah.
And it's a situation that has just gone on for too long, so.
And I would think those pictures would be supportive documentation
Right.
for pursuing a grant.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Any other new business at this time?
Yeah, as Dave was talking about, I was talking about anything east of White Street is zoned residential.
Right.
I don't feel like there should be meters in front of a residential, in a residential area. So there are 3 or 4 or 5 meters there. I feel like they should be removed, and the ones that are still working, we can replace ones that are broken. And if we want to turn that into our parking on the north side, in front of the White Inn, then I agree that would be.
What about across the street? Would
That's
those?
that's residential, that's
No,
the house there.
I'm talking about like where Ben's
Yeah,
business
no, I'm
is.
talking about anything east of White
East
Street.
of
Right.
There's
Yeah.
two
Okay.
meters
Yeah,
just past that in
Yes.
front of a residence.
Oh, I understand
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and I think those should definitely go.
Those should be
Yeah.
eliminated.
Yeah.
Thank you.
yeah, and then we can,
I think as long as. we're
I'm
not
sure it won't be hard to
changing
find
numbers.
6 meters that aren't working.
Right.
Yeah.
Can I make a
to have the
suggestion to
spares.
kill 10 birds with one stone? Put the suggestion from the chief, and the resolution from trustee Esperson on one resolution so that we can knock this out of the park in the next meeting, because we have nothing official in front of us.
We cannot do that because we'll need to amend the local law because we have the number of metered spaces
Correct.
within that local law.
So then put that on the agenda too. It's not
So
waste
we'll
time.
have to edit the law,
Have a public hearing.
have a public hearing.
Can you take that note so that
Are
we
there
can
any
get that
other-
rocking and rolling?
Places we could install the meters?
I was gonna say, don't we have
It's
some?
number of metered spots. So if we want to create spots that are metered elsewhere, but if we're eliminating
Well,
metered
we
spots.
never did replace the meters over here in the West Barker Common on Church.
There's meters on in front of the church over here.
No,
On the
I'm
other
talking about in
side.
front of the park,
Right across the street from here.
right across the street from that. There were meters there, oh
I
yeah.
know, last meeting, I thought you were talking about on the church.
Oh, no.
But do
I'm
we
talking
want
about-
to drill through that, whatever that material is at the,
Well, what we did in front of Park Place was those hitching posts. We kind of built a bracket for the meter to go on. You know, it was some work to do, but
would it cost us more to drill than it would be worth? I don't know if it
yeah,
costs.
you definitely don't want to drill into the new concrete, but
Yeah.
they put those hitching posts out there and we made just a bracket to kind of mount on there.
Well, it's okay, so if we create more spaces, we're not losing space. we're
That's
just
not
re-
creating though, those are already in the metered count. In fact, we do need to
They
address
are,
that. Either we're
correct.
going to put those meters back up or they should be included
That's
in
right.
the
Right.
Eliminating
reduction
them.
of metered spaces.
I'm assuming that the meters that we're taking out are no longer in
Always
operation.
what we could, didn't we?
So just we had some new ones set aside for them.
Well, hopefully in the very near future, there won't be any meters anyway. But we'll talk about that a little later.
Okay.
In the meanwhile, in the interest of time, I asked that Scott, the committee, get together with Scott and Chief and come up with a resolution so we can amend the law as trustee Syracuse is talking about, and also address the request from the chief in a timely fashion So that we're not talking about it, it's 5 months from now. Old business, PPD contract.
Yes, I did present this to the board members here. I really feel that we need to review that PPD contract. And I'll just read a portion of what I have here. Fairness in renewing this contract calls for just compensation to Village of Fredonia sewer system ratepayers and taxpayers who bear the burden of upkeep at the village-owned wastewater treatment plant. Outside entities which contract with the village for sewer services and drinking water supply are responsible for maintaining their own distribution systems, but they do not contribute directly to maintenance of the village's water infrastructure plans. That is why the village has traditionally charged more to outside entities than to its own users when it contracts for these services. And I did give some examples of historical examples, and I believe Mayor Pagano, you were part of charging more than what the residents were paying outside of the district. I believe some of this is something that you put forward. And I would like to take a look at this contract again because I really feel it's unfair that the county wants us to set a rate at $3.06 per thousand when our taxpayers are paying $8 per thousand. We need to enforce this, collect more money, because we do have items at the sewage treatment plant that need to be replaced, and it just isn't fair that these ratepayers outside of the village are paying $3.06 when our own residents are paying $8 per thousand. And I'd like to go over that at some point so we can discuss it more. Not tonight, though,
So,
actually.
What is our current rate?
For us, for them, $3.08.
Okay, and that is static, that does not change with our rate changes.
Correct.
I would entertain.
It should.
Right, I would entertain having a percentage like we do for, water. You know, if our rate goes up 10%, then their rate should also go up 10%.
Right.
so in-
Because right now, just to let you know, the county back in October, they passed a resolution, their legislators, to say that Fredonia will only charge PPD $3.06 for the next 30 years, which I think is just
That's just
ridiculous.
That's also way too long of a
You can't.
Yeah,
contract.
that's,
No,
yeah, they can't foist that on us.
exactly.
I mean, okay, so I'm looking at the last contract that was signed by Mayor Landis, and I think Jim Sedota negotiated the agreement from 2019, and they were paying
1.5.
They were paying half of what our ratepayers were paying. So now they should be paying $4 per thousand. And I understand what you're saying, and I know in the past you had mentioned in the contract doubling what our ratepayers are paying.
That's true, right.
And I will tell you that there is not a chance in hell that they will sign that. So you could ask for $1 billion, and they're never going to agree to that. So I would propose that if it needs to, and it needs to be redone, because this one is.
And I do want to say this, that from my understanding, that reduced rate was because they had stormwater going into their sewage lines. And they wanted a reduced rate so they could fix those sewage lines.
They did.
And, well, they just got almost $1 million grant to repair their sewage
Right.
lines.
And-
So
and-
it doesn't sound like to me they repaired it at all.
They have repaired a number of them, and I know
That's their costs That's
Right,
up to them to do that.
Absolutely. it is.
We are taking water in, this is my point. We probably are taking in storm sewer water and processing that. Now, that's costing us money.
Well, we know
to do.
exactly how much is being processed down there, right? Because are they on a different meter?
They have a flow meter that
Right.
is right outside of the plant that measures how much water comes
Correct.
to the plant right from there. So their flow includes all waters that come to the plant.
Do you happen to know how much of your water processing in a day comes from them, percentage-wise?
You could.
If you don't, that's okay, if you could get us to it. If you can get that to
I
us.
can get it for you.
Perfect, thank you.
I'd like to
That
see
would be
that.
good
Yeah,
to know.
because
Yeah.
I think if we're only 10% of the water that we're processing through there is theirs, then that is certainly then beyond unfair to charge them double.
No, it's not. No, it's not. That's not how it works. No.
Well, how it works
No.
is a negotiation. You both agree to a price, and you and Trustee Linden tried to renegotiate that 2 years ago, right? I think, and you weren't able. And then we tried to negotiate it, and we weren't able to come to a
Well,
amenable
we are the
rate.
ones that have
What's
the
that?
power.
That's
They don't want to pay.
They don't want to
The
pay.
cost of processing, there's a cost to the village for maintaining and making sure that we have a sewage system.
I don't want to speak for them, but I
They don't
think
want to pay an equal share of that cost. And the village should, by the state constitution, New York State law says that we shouldn't be entitled to a profit margin. And they don't want to agree to that. So I'm sorry.
Well, I guess all I was saying is there's got to be a figure between doubling it and what it is now that we could come to an agreement on.
Right.
Because doubling it, I think, is just not going to be doable.
yeah. So
I think it should match whatever the village residents are paying. That's the fair thing to do.
Years ago, they
Match,
paid
not
double
double.
the rate.
They pay double the rate,
Right.
correct.
And then for some reason,
I don't know what happened here, but, and from a maintenance point of view, the majority, not the majority, but a lot of our sewer issues come in Pomfret districts, Route 60, for example.
Correct.
So 3 in the morning, when the sewer backs up, we have to go out there.
Right.
That's on our dime. I mean,
Right.
that's overtime for the village and our equipment. I don't know if there's a maintenance cost built into this contract, or if it just, but certainly take that into consideration.
Exactly. Thank you, Scott.
If they're maintaining their own, then our people shouldn't be doing the work. We maintain it, then we should charge them for it. Yes.
Well, that's what-
I suggest that when we deal, not that we have that many contracts with outside communities, but if our taxpayers suffer through an increase, that increase needs to be passed on to them for using our services at the
Correct.
same rate, just for
It's
consideration.
for the amount of water they're putting into the plant. How fair is that? I think that's pretty fair.
Well, we don't know how much water they're putting.
Yes, we do. We have a meter.
Yeah, David, could you track the flow rates, say, going back a year, maybe even 2 years from the town of Pomfret?
Yeah, we write down the meters every day.
Right.
And I have Fredonia's plant readings measured every day too, and I can get the percentage of flow from the one plant or from their line.
Right.
And I can get what comes to the Fredonia.
Yeah, I'm thinking
plant.
like, let's go back 24 months, here's the village, and then here's the town, and comparatively show what the percentage would be.
Yeah, I'll work on that.
Because that's raw metrics that we can help us to
But the
reinforce.
percentage shouldn't matter. It's how much per 1,000 gallons. That's what we've established with our own.
it's not a great map, and
Residents.
it's really blurry, but I don't believe Route 60 is included in the Pomfret Portland Sewer District.
They're the town of Pomfret.
It's not part of this district.
It's a Pomfret
no.
sewer district, correct.
It's not. It's not. This is.
Well-
Here's the map. I'm just telling you what's on the map, and it's 60, any businesses on 60 are not included. These are along Lake Erie. These are along the lake, between 5 and the lake. So, not that, I think they shouldn't pay, but the issues you were talking about, what's going on at 60, that doesn't include them, so.
Any further discussion on PPD at this point?
Nope.
Okay, deer population, another ongoing discussion.
Right. I surfaced this issue, if you recall, last fall. I'm resurfacing it again. Recently had a complaint from a resident on Westerly about the extensive population of deer on their property. Everyone in the village knows it's an issue. We had talked about it previously, and I'm simply bringing it up again for discussion, thoughts, directions, and a potential plan. So I'm willing to hear thoughts. I think we really need to address this.
I do have to say this, I've seen an increase in deer in my yard. I mean, they've eaten everything. I mean, anything that I don't have covered or a fence up, they're even eating new bushes that they never ate before. And it's, I mean, and when they have fawns give birth, they're not giving birth to just one, they're giving birth to twins. And it's just becoming incredibly expensive for people to keep up with their landscaping. We want the village to look good. We, want people to be safe. And the other issue that I have with it are ticks.
Yeah.
Where it's becoming a real health issue because of that.
So,
Can we
we looked
contact
at
the
this a couple
DEC?
years ago, as
Yeah.
I recall, because I got all the hate mail, because I brought it up. And the solutions we looked at were, I actually got a call from the Arkansas Bow Hunters Association. They agreed to come in and help take care of the problem for us. We decided that was probably not what we wanted to do. We looked at having the DEC put their whatever drug or pellets out, so they eat those and they won't reproduce, but that doesn't help the problem now because it doesn't kill them, it just, they won't reproduce.
Right.
There are local hunters that can hunt as long as they're following DEC guidelines.
Like a shoot and bait, maybe?
They also
Bait and
have to get
shoot?
permission from the landowner
Yeah.
to shoot.
Yeah.
Right.
And written permission and sign.
A former trustee offered to use his balcony as a shooting
remember
gallery. We wanted to try that, which didn't seem like.
What other communities what are they doing
So-
about this?
So I looked at what
Yeah.
some of the communities around Buffalo were doing.
Okay.
And nothing they were doing was effective.
Right.
Yeah.
Nothing that otherwise eliminating them.
Right.
Cornell has an extensive paper on it, and they basically recommend doing nothing because very little is cost effective.
Right.
And the DEC has a lengthy section on it on their webpage. There's just
Do we just put up
no
a,
simple solution. They say advise your residents to drive more carefully.
Good.
Well, I've got a picture on my phone that was sent by someone on Howard Street. There were 30 deer standing on the lawn next to the creek in Fredonia
Right.
Place.
Yeah.
So.
We can waive the need to walk your dog on a leash and have dogs.
Community
Down
day.
deer.
I don't want to do that.
and
I'm
have
just saying
children
that
outside playing
once
in
that-
yards?
Once
Yeah.
that law came into effect, the deer have no enemies. They have no.
Okay, folks,
nothing
we're
to
running
chase
late
around.
on our
I mean,
Well,
I
this
would
is
say-
important. We've
I
got
would
to talk
say,
about this.
maybe let's can we, let's contact the DEC, see what they're able to do for us.
Mm-hmm.
If they
Right.
aren't gonna charge us to put out the birth control pellets, then,
I can
Go
do
for
that.
it.
I did contact them last fall. I spoke to the Western New York DEC wildlife representative. He gave me some ideas. I can reinitiate that phone call.
Yeah,
and-
see what he says.
and just
Great.
just watch it again.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm surfacing the issue because it's a concern for all.
It is.
Yeah, I mean, they ate my
Correct.
pumpkins right off my front step, which is probably from me to Michelle away from my front door, so that was real comforting.
Pretty bold.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, any other old business? If not, I'm going to ask that we take a 3-minute break before we go into the main meeting so that we can allow people who want to sign in to speak can do so. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for attending tonight's workshop online and in person. And we will start tonight's official Board of Trustees regular meeting in 3 minutes. Going to New York regular meeting on 911 Church Street in Fredonia, New York. This May 12th, 2025. A little bit of a late start at 7:16. I'm Mayor Mike Ferguson. We call this meeting to order. Roll call the trustees. Trustee Esperson.
Here.
Trustee Brockler. Here. Trustee Syracuse.
Here.
Trustee Wandell.
Here.
Trustee Twitchell.
Here.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Approval of minutes.
Whereas members of this board have read the official minutes of the Board of Trustees regular meeting of April 28th, 2025, and be it resolved that the board hereby approves the minutes as entered into the official minutes, and be it further resolved that the reading of the minutes be dispensed with.
Second.
Trustee Esperson.
Aye.
Trustee Syracuse.
Aye.
Trustee Twitchell.
Aye.
Trustee Wandell.
Aye.
Trustee Brockler.
Aye.
Passed. This portion of the meeting is for public comment. I know we had somebody come in late. Did you want to speak tonight? I'll let you know. Okay. This is for public comment. Any member of the public wishing to speak, once recognized, shall stand at the microphone, state their name and address. Speakers will be allowed 3 minutes of speaking for themselves, 5 minutes of speaking on behalf of a group. We have one person that will be doing that tonight. We'll ask speakers to refrain from remarks that are in poor taste, slanderous, or not germane to any action taken or contemplated by the board. First person tonight, Mr. Sandrea.
Thank you, Mayor, Board. Witness Trustee Twitchell said I agree with 100% on the PPD district contract. I wasn't going to mention that today, but I saw the recent contract. I would never sign that contract. All the protections that the village had to prevent harmful waste to go into the plant, there was a lot of time put into that contract to make sure that our plant was protected from any harmful substances. That was totally lacking in the contract. As far as the rate goes, we have the right to charge a premium. That contract provided for any flow that went from Dunkirk, Portland, or Dunkirk into that plant, even if it's stormwater. It gets measured, it gets charged. We put stormwater comes in from our village, and our people also get charged. So I'd be very careful about that proposed contract. I'd keep the rate at least the same as the village, if not higher, to get a premium. Okay, there's 3 resolutions I want to talk about. Have all the members of the board read the PBA contract? Have you received a copy and read it? You're familiar with it? Did you all get a copy? Okay. The resolution in tonight's meeting states nothing about the terms of the contract. It just says the contract be approved. There's nothing in that board resolution reciting what the major changes are and that the public has to live with. There's nothing in there highlighting these changes. The public's left completely in dark about the substance of the proposed PBA contract. It just says, mayor's authorized to sign it. Well, what are the terms? Highlight the specific major terms in that resolution. Don't keep the public in the dark about it. The taxpayers have a right to full disclosure of the major terms of that contract, and the resolution doesn't disclose any, zero. There's another resolution authorizing a commercial water service on Bennett Road. The resolution does not identify what Pomfret Water District, the contract that the village is going to provide water to this user. The user is in some contract up there. The resolution doesn't say which, and we have more than one Pomfret contract out there. The identity of the property owner isn't set forth in the resolution. The resolution does not define what the term commercial is. It says they have the right to use that property for commercial use. What does that mean? Can they irrigate 25 acres of farmland with village water? Is it a car wash? The term commercial should be defined in that resolution. It's very dangerous just to give a blank check for any commercial use. There's nothing in the resolution that defines that. What impact is that commercial use going to have on other water customers within the water district? And also, what impact on village residents will the commercial use have? There should be restrictions on the commercial use of village water. Is that already going off, or is that something else?
That's already going off.
3 minutes are gone. Can I finish this up, Mayor? I have another one to do.
You have one more, go ahead.
Yeah, these are important things. Is a CEQA resolution done on this, on the use of commercial water outside of the village? Again, define it. Finally, there's a resolution to authorize the payment of bills approved by the Finance Committee. That resolution should disclose to village residents and taxpayers what bills are being authorized to be paid. A list of the bills, the payees of the bills, and the amount of the bills authorized to be paid should be clearly listed and attached to the resolution. Don't require the village residents to come to Village Hall and ask for the list. Set forth in the board resolution the list of bills and give a copy to the news media. Trustees should make known to the public the use of village taxpayer money. Taxpayers will be receiving a 60% increase in their taxes. They're entitled to know what their money is being used for.
Thank you, sir. Frank Pagano, representing Concerned Citizens Advisory Board.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you very much. I don't like to come to this meeting, but I was precipitated to come from a phone call from a woman on Liberty Street, 84-year-old woman, calling me crying. She says, Mayor Pagano, I can't afford to pay the taxes. What am I supposed to do? And you know, I didn't have an answer for her. I told her to call you folks, because you're the ones that raise the taxes. Let me tell you what the benefit, what the results of your tax rate are going to be. Number one, your bond rating is going to hell. You're going to pay more money to borrow money because you haven't managed your finances. Number two, you have a budget of $12.5 million. You have $14.8 million in debt. That's 120% more. If you think the taxes went up a lot this year, wait till next year. You're not going to be able to sustain this kind of spending. You need to get your spending in control. Another for your budget to work out next year, you need to cut $1 million from the budget. Now, that sounds crazy, but you have to do it. I don't know if it's canceling a fire truck, canceling help, putting a freeze on, whatever you have to do, because I'm telling you, next year is going to be worse than this year. And so I would hope that you would take that all in advice. Ms. Syracuse, am I boring you?
I'm listening.
Oh, okay. Well, I see you playing with your fingernails all the time. Anyway, I'm offering you a suggestion. You can take it or leave it. I've got a half a dozen people, qualified smart, educated people that are willing to work with you on this budget to help you trim $1 billion off of it. I think you should take my suggestion, accept the help, and work at getting this budget reduced, because it's just not substantiated to go this route. You're in trouble. I don't know. You might not realize it. I listened to the resolution here, keep spending. You're gonna put another fireman on, a fireman's retiring. That's an opportunity to leave the position empty. You know, okay, I'm not gonna get into it anymore, but I'm asking you to think about getting some help, because certainly you're not doing it right. Thank you for your time, and thank you, Mayor, for the extra time.
Thank you. James Linden.
Good evening, Board. James Linden. This board has imposed an unprecedented economic impact on this village. It's an actual hardship on this village. I agree with Mr. Pagano there. You need to readdress what you're doing. I spoke before this board before last budget and this budget. That's actually two budgets you've gone above the tax cap. 2 years this has happened. And I said that it was going to be not feasible both times, and it has proven to be. And as Mayor Pagano has just said, you will not get through this year without probably having to borrow more money. It is not going to be feasible. You're not taking the steps necessary. I ask you to take some necessary steps. Forget about your ideas of working, collaborating with Dunkirk, who's in worse shape than you are. You're spending too much time. One of the trustees said that he wants to continue to look further and further into those kinds of things. You don't have money to do that. There isn't money to build something new or move things around. You need to focus on what you have. Get it back in order. If you have to lay off people, you may have to, but you've been hiring people in place of people. You say that there's money in the department's budget for this year for certain things. Well, I still have some money in my budget. No, you don't. There isn't any money. You're starting this new budget at over $300,000 in the hole. There isn't any money. Where's the steps that you're taking that you need to address this? I see nothing. Get on board, listen to the public, take the necessary steps, get us back in order financially. It's going to be hard, but you have to do it. You can't do another year like this. It's going to, the tax rate next year is going to be higher than what you're looking at now. What do you think that's going to do to the property values? When I was in office, I believe that I did not raise 5 years property taxes, and our property values increased, providing a higher tax levy in for the village, so we could pay for increased cost without having a higher tax rate, because the values of our properties were increased. Right now, you're going to see the property values go down. As Frank said, your borrowing rating is going to drop. There's no way it's going to stay up. You're not going to have a AA rating. You're going to end up with you're lucky if you're with a B. That's going to hurt us even more. Thank you.
Thank you. Linda Shields.
Good evening. My name's Linda Shields. I live at 227 Seymour Street in Fredonia. Part of what Mr. Linden had to say kind of I came here with a question tonight, and part of what he said kind of answers that question, but I'm going to ask it anyhow. I think we're living in a time where I know our population in Chautauqua County is decreasing, And we have so many towns and villages in Chautauqua County. I've also gone to the school board and plan to continue to go to the school board and have asked this question. In Chautauqua County, we have 18 school districts for 7,500 kids that attend school. Something's got to give. So the question that I came to ask tonight is consolidation of services. How can we consolidate? Can we consolidate the village and the town? I noticed in the article that you referenced earlier about the police department, could there be such a thing as a North County police agency? I didn't come here to offend anybody with these questions. I just think that something's got to give. We can't keep maintaining what we have even though our population is shrinking. How can we consolidate services? I don't have the answer, but thank you.
Thank you. Rick St. George. I owe you an apology from the last meeting. I called you Rick Johnson last time. So.
Oh, you did? You're lucky. I didn't hear that.
You didn't hear that? I got away with one. I'm sorry. But it's on tape. So
there you go. I'll have to go back and watch it. Yeah, I'm going to probably sound like a broken record, but I think that this is very important. I think the residents of this village deserve an answer to the questions that these people have been asking. Where is the money? Do you have a report in front of you that you can present to the residents that's going to explain to them in simple terms where the money went? Your budget that you passed last year was supposed to have a fund balance coming in of $766,000 at the end of the current fiscal period. And instead, as Mr. Linden said, it's negative $306,810. That's a swing of $1,073,000. Where is the money? Where is the money? Does anybody there? I mean, you guys sit there and shake your heads, but you need to follow the money. I mean, and it's important to present to the people, this is where the money went, because it doesn't look good for the board. It doesn't look good for this village. It ruins a lot of stuff. And getting into some of the pieces parts, I'm going to lay something right on the feet where it deserves. Your fire hall. I think they broke the village, myself, okay? We have, and I know the chief is here, and I don't care, so we need a new ladder truck. I don't know, did the board do any kind of due diligence on the ladder truck and figure out what's wrong with the current ladder truck? Do we have a report from somebody that says the ladder truck that we had couldn't be repaired and this is why, or it was too expensive to repair that? I don't think the board did any due diligence on something like that. Did you go to the used market to see if there was something used? Apparently we picked up a used ladder truck and we're using it, so there must be a good used market out there where you could get a used truck. But no, we need a brand new one. And by the way, we need a new pumper truck, we need a couple new ambulances, we need this, you can't buy all this stuff at one time. That's why you have 120% over your budget value in debt alone. You might as well say you're insolvent. I think the board needs to have also, when any place goes out for, they tell you they need something, the board needs to do some due diligence. They can't just say, yes, let's write a check and let's do it. You have to do some due diligence behind it, okay? That's part of the deal as far as I'm concerned. That's always the case. And the other part is you need to provide that report. Just let the people know where that money went, just so that they know. And I'm sorry, but I'll just go over one more thing. Like Mr. Draho had said, you know, the village residents are entitled to that type of information. It's not something that you should be ashamed of because you guys all approved all of that stuff. So you should tell the residents what you did.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Richard Ketchum.
Thank you. Richard Ketchum, 22 Burnett. I guess I have to agree, honestly, with a lot of what the other speakers had to say. And I think the most point that resonated with me is actually what Rick St. George said a moment ago, and that was really understanding. Because I don't understand why the taxes went up as much as they did. I know the spending went up. But having some more detail, I would like to have an opportunity to really meet, discuss, have it presented in a way. So I hear something like, I don't know, over 70% of the budget is salaries. I think that's the number I've heard, or maybe salaries and benefits. So it's got to be there, but I'm missing and may just, you know, I'm not sitting in your chairs and I'm not throwing stones, but I did run some pretty big budgets. And if 70% is in this box and the tax rate went up 65%, it strikes me that I don't get how that happened in 1 year. And I am concerned about, as was said, about the following year too. I mean, it just, there's questions that just, maybe there's very clear answers. I don't know what they are. So as a concerned taxpayer, it's something I would like to understand better. But to get the solution piece, the only thing to be done is spending reduced. I mean, we're not going to see a huge influx in revenue. It's one or the other, right? So, you know, what can be done? I heard a number of things about police, fire, combining towns and villages. And I've heard several of the trustees and the mayor speak before about, you know, I have to study this, we have to look about this. I think it's very important. I don't agree with some of the things were said. Well, we don't have time, it costs too much. Look, it's going to happen. I said this one other time a few months ago when I was here. I don't know if it's going to be a year or 5 years, but I bet an awful lot of money if we came back here, plot back into this room 10 years from now. Gosh, I sure hope we're not going to have separate police, separate fire, separate town and village between Dunkirk, Fredonia. I mean, it does have to get done. My last point that I wanted to make is no one's brought up, and I know there's different opinions about this, but I'd like to know if anyone can answer, because I throw it as a question, is what's going on with the study about the water district? You know, I had heard that we were going to get a report, I believe it was in March, and then I heard the end of April. I presume in the contract, the consultant, there was a due date. I don't know what that due date is. I don't know what the report's going to be presented, but I'd like to know if anyone knows when's it going to be presented, how long is it going to take to act on it, whatever your decision may be. Because at least from what I've heard, I'd like to see the report, is I do believe there's a potential for savings, significant savings there. And again, others may feel differently, but I don't, you know, absolutely drop that opinion because I haven't seen it. But I would like to see it, and I think if the potential for significant savings, gosh, it's something we got to act on, and get moving. So I don't know if you're allowed to respond to anything or talk about it in a meeting later, but I would like to know when is the report coming and how should we be acting?
It'll be presented by Labella next meeting.
Which is
next meeting
2 weeks.
27.
Tuesday.
Pardon? 2 weeks.
27th. It'll be on Tuesday.
Tuesday,
because of Memorial Day.
Okay.
It's Monday.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I will say, we've discussed at this level about being more transparent. We understand that. I'm a taxpayer too. I've lived here 38 years. And we're working on some things. Melissa has some ideas that we talked about even this afternoon. I will also say, and most of you have been in government before, so you also understand how, you know, I get when I was talking about not Fred Fest, it was, you know, don't worry about Fred Fest, fix the water. Okay, well, as Mr. Ketchum said, there's a study going on. We're not just sitting here flicking our thumbs around waiting for the study. We have 100 other things that we need to be done. many things come across the desk on a weekly basis, and we are aware of that. So when you hear that we're working on something, many things you also know cannot be discussed until things flesh themselves out. We're in discussions at many levels with many different communities on different things. And those things will become clear. I promise you that, as does the board. So thank you for your opinions on that. Any correspondence tonight?
No.
Okay. My report. Lots going on. I said it before, so those of you who were in the first meeting, I'm sorry for being repetitive, but this is important. We mentioned the crossing lanes on Route 20. This is my fourth or fifth personal experience. A young man on a bicycle in front of Triaga's, the crossing lane there, doing the right thing, coming to the crosswalk and waiting for something to stop, waiting for someone to stop. I stopped, almost got ran into by the person behind me, and watched 7 cars fly down the hill while this young man attempted to cross the street. Finally, there was a break. I was still waiting. He's crossing, and 4 cars came barreling down, honking their horns at him. It's the law, no matter where you go. I don't care if it's Florida. I don't care if it's California. In New York State, someone enters the crosswalk, it is the law to stop. And we will find out just how expensive things can be when someone gets killed from people who are not paying attention. There's nothing in our lives going on that hurries up to hit a young child, or, as I said, Sam almost got hit about a month ago, and I happen to be stopped again trying to stop traffic. Please keep an eye. You're going through the village. I understand it's a state highway, but it is the law. You must stop at crosswalks. With that being said, Fred Fest, I want to thank the Fredonia Police Department, the Fredonia Fire Department, the College Police Department. I want to thank President Colison. I want to thank the student councils, the student government for doing what they did, the New York State Police, the Chautauqua County Sheriffs. I want to thank the many people, including Trustee Syracuse and many, many others, who took the middle of the night to drop off food and beverages for those people, who worked all night long. And we are proud to say that for the first time in over 3 years, there was no major event that caused police action at Fredonia Fred Fest. With that being said, we're working with the college on future events in the next couple of years, and we will continue the plan as it successfully fleshed itself out this year. So with that, thank you very much to everybody who helped with Not Fred Fest. We want to, where else did we go this week? The Workers' Memorial, also Trustee Esperson and I had a demonstration of a company called Honk, which has various levels of parking solutions, our outdated meters, things that may be able to come about and to save the community money. We met with DFT after discussions from 2 weeks ago, and I attended the firemen's dinner on Saturday and congratulate the men and women who not only serve and continue to serve, but were rewarded, and for those who are retiring and for their service to this community. Julius Leone, I believe, is retiring, correct?
He's done as a volunteer president.
He's done as president. I also want to congratulate Chip for being the new president of the volunteers. So good work being done by men and women protecting us and protecting our community. I want to take a moment, and I usually don't read letters, and this letter is directed at a specific company in town, but it reflects several companies that made this trip. This was sent by Mr. and Mrs. James Hamilton at Beech Mountain, North Carolina. And it said, I am writing on behalf of myself, my family, and entire community of Beech Mountain, North Carolina, for our deepest and most heartfelt thanks for the extraordinary assistance during the aftermath of Hurricane Helene. September 27, 2024 was a devastating day for so many individuals and families here in Northwest North Carolina. And the Kravitz team made each day brighter, that they were here on the mountain serving side by side with our residents. In time of chaos, uncertainty, you answered the call without hesitation. You arrived at our home immediately to assess our situation and acted swiftly. Your crew, who were the kindest, most hardworking individuals, worked to remove over 8 massive trees that had fallen onto our home, a task that was both urgent and overwhelming for us. And yet you carried it out swiftly and professionally in an unwavering sense of purpose. What's more, your commitment extended far beyond any one home. You worked tirelessly throughout our community, offering your services to every person who needed help. Most humbling, compassionate act, you dedicated your Sundays to serve those who were uninsured, financially burdened, elderly, or simply in need, entirely free of charge. You traveled from New York to Carolina, bringing not just equipment and manpower, but your generosity, your kindness, genuine desire to help. You and your workers left our families to support your families, to support ours, and the selflessness is something that we will never forget. We will be forever grateful for the strength, care, and humanity you brought to Beech Mountain. We are a small town tucked away in the mountains above the clouds at the 5,506-foot elevation, and with less than 500 full-time residents. However, you and your team found us, helped us for many tireless hours that streamed into days, weeks, and months. Your family of workers exemplifies the very best of what it means to serve, and we feel incredibly lucky to have had you with us during a critical time. Our sincerest apologies this letter has taken so long to finally reach you. It certainly does not fall in line or reflect the same extraordinary service Kravitz Tree Service provided. We think of the team often as we travel our community, still noticing the remnants of Helene. 7 months later, the presence is still evident. However, if not for the tremendous help of the Kravitz team, we would not be very far along down the recovery road as we are. I respectfully ask this letter to be shared by Mayor Michael Ferguson and Chief of Police Chief David Price, so that they too may recognize the tremendous contribution Kravitz Tree Service has made for our community. Our deepest gratitude, James J.D. Hamilton and Catherine Hamilton. And this not only reflects Ben Kravitz, Steve St. George's team, and many others that go nameless, had left their homes and spent weeks and months. Ben is also a police officer, and it took someone out of service for a bit. This is what Fredonia is about. We saw it again with the floods the other day in the highest part of our community, where we had extensive flooding. The DPW and the police and the fire, myself, were out till all hours of the night. And I want to thank Trustee Wandell and team members from Harvest Chapel Church for going around and working on people's basements and dedicating that time. So while there's a lot of things that we can talk about that need to be addressed, important things that need to be addressed, there are good things that the people of this community do, and they do it day in and day out. And as your mayor, I thank you for your time and your service. Treasurer's report.
Trustees first.
Who's that?
Trustees report.
Oh, trustees reports, I'm sorry. Trustee Brockwood.
I don't really have a lot tonight, but I do want to mention that the number 300,000 has been brought up a couple times in regards to the budget. Last year, we made an assumption of approximately $700,000 in ambulance revenue. This year, our assumption was more in the lines of 400,000. There's 300,000 right there. And that's, it was imaginary number last year. It's an imaginary number this year. I think this year we're coming in below the real number. And last year we went way above it. So that's all I have.
Trustee Esperson.
Yeah, as the mayor said, we had a meeting with Honk Corporation. The reason that I think they're going to work for us is that if we use them for our parking services, we no longer have the expense of meters and batteries and things like that, which is why we weren't too enthused with the other corporation that we spoke with. They have there would be placards you could scan, or they have apps you can download. But we got a list of their fees. We asked Alyssa to take a look at the fees and make sure that what they're charging us would be offset by the money we'd save by not needing meters. So we're still waiting for that, and we'll have another meeting with Honk. I went to the North County Water District meeting. The only pertinent thing that happened there regarding Fredonia is because they are paying for the study, they want a copy of the study before it's presented here. They want to first look at it, which seems fair to me. Their engineers working with our engineers to make sure they get that right before we get it as a village. I met with the fire chief and Alyssa to discuss a possible MOU regarding staffing for summer months. We're going to meet in executive session after to discuss that. That's all I have.
Thank you. Trustee Syracuse.
So I just wanted to respond to some of the comments that were made tonight because we hear them, we've heard them over and over again. So I guess, you know, what you're looking for is a response. As far as laying off people being a solution to fix all of our budget issues, you know, because our budget has created economic hardship for the residents. I mean, isn't that creating an economic hardship for the family while also creating a hardship within that department, asking those who are left to do more with less, and especially in safety-sensitive departments. Coming here and saying that you didn't raise taxes through your entire tenure isn't something to brag about because every year your expenses went up, your salaries went up, your benefits went up, your cost of products went up. I think every year we anticipate benefits alone to go up 5%. Not filling vacancies, those hours still have to be covered. That is within union contracts for some departments. So the solution is to, if we don't fill that vacancy, either we pay overtime or we openly commit a grievance, which is going to be incredibly costly by the time that's settled. To be perfectly clear about the fire department trucks, the village has not paid for all of them. The volunteers have contributed a significant portion of all of those trucks. Yeah, so that's not all village cost. And as far as timing, I do understand that it looks like, if you haven't been staring at the budget every week, every 2 weeks for the last however many years, it does look like this all happened with the flip of a switch. But it hasn't. Alyssa, when we were doing the RAN, I believe, provided us all with spreadsheets and with documentation that displayed this has been a long time coming. This year it just all finally came to head. The fund balance was pulled from for too long to balance the budget and then to also cover cash shortfalls for, I think, over the last 5 years is what she provided us data for. And finally this year we just ran out and thus needing the loan that we needed. So we now need to cover replenishing the fund balance. We need to cover that loan and also our rising costs. So that's where we ended up with this year. It didn't happen overnight. It was coming for at least the last 5 years, if not 10. And that's all I have to report.
Trustee Twitchell?
I've got to say about this budget, Alyssa did give us information on why it went over, and a large cost of that was the fire department. They did initially for 2 years say they were going to bring $800,000, which they brought in maybe half that, and that put us in a predicament to pay people. And as Trustee Syracuse said, we would be breaking a contract if we didn't hire as many firemen. But that's something I think we can go into arbitration about, because I feel they were the largest part of us having to borrow money for the RAN. I'll just say it, it's the elephant in the room, but I really care about the fire department. I just feel that it hasn't been looked at to really cover the cost of everything they want to do, and And as a result, we had to raise our taxes to cover that cost. And there were some other items too, and I'd like for Alyssa to release that information that she gave us the past 4 years, why, what were the increased costs, so everybody could take a look and understand that too. I think it's really important for the residents to see where the costs had gone up. And I don't mean to beat up the fire department, but once you see the costs, it sticks out like a sore thumb. And we probably shouldn't have bought another ladder truck. As you know, we're going to be paying for that for the next 15 years now. And I know we did try to look into canceling that, but it wasn't going to work. It's unfortunate that we're going to have to pay for that right now and add it into all of our other costs. But I believe that we are going to have to change. We're going to have to lay off people. I mean, I don't agree with Trustee Syracuse that just to lay those people off causes them a hardship. I'm thinking of the hardship for these families, just like that woman on Liberty Street that has to pay more in taxes. We really have to be paying more attention to what we're spending, and they've got to hear the word no. A lot of times we don't say that, and that's got to be part of our new vocabulary. Not to hire people, not to spend money, and that's what I believe. And also, I did want to report on a few other reports. We had a meeting with the cable TV group, and Paul Wandel and I met with them, and because of this new equipment that we're getting, that will enable us to do some more filming outside, which will first take place with the Lafayette visit. We'll be able to do wireless internet connections to our cable, which will be a great resource for the Village of Fredonia to improve on our cable TV. And Kurt Madam had phoned me to ask me about the DFT phone bill, and I asked him for a name of his representative, and we met with that gentleman, with the mayor and Alyssa, and we went over the phone bills, and we're hoping to save some money there too. And I did go to the fire dinner, and I'd like to congratulate all of the firemen that were honored, and especially Mr. Leone, who had been there for 45 years. He still is in the fire department, but he's really given a lot to this Village of Fredonia. And I think part of our problem is we don't have as many volunteers as we used to. And this kind of shows up in the budget too, when they say that for safety reasons. But I really feel that we could even just go to part-time, so we're not paying all these high salaries for retirement. But that's something that we can discuss later. We'll have to go through the contract in executive session to discuss that. But those are my feelings, and I just hope we can do better. I know Paul Wandel and I, we're really concerned. We've met with Rick St. George to go over some of the items that were in the budget. And I know Mr. Ketchum, he would like to also kind of take a look at how we can improve on things. And Mr. Dreo and Mr. Pagano, I mean, we truly do want to work harder at this to improve our budget spending, because the way it looks right now, it looks like we're going to have to borrow money again, and I really don't want to do that. And so we're going to have to come up with a more cost-effective way of running this government. Thank you.
Mr. Wandel.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to echo comments from Trustee Twitchell. I fully agree. We're open to listen. We're going to actively listen. And, I mean, I'm just gonna say that publicly, that I like the term lessons learned. What can we learn? Let's not repeat errors that, whatever the situation was or is, we can always improve. So that's my motive. I just want everyone to understand that. Committee report, DPW. I have 3: water treatment plant, wastewater plant, and streets. Start out with water treatment plant. Backup generator purchase. I'm currently working on quotes for our backup generator, which we are currently renting. I do expect to have, I started the research. I do expect to have quotes very soon, by the next meeting. Wastewater treatment plant, a $50,000 engineering study grant was submitted on April 12th. Our treasurer had worked with the superintendent from wastewater. We expect to know results soon. This grant will allow for a formulation of a formal comprehensive engineering study to identify all capital projects needed at that plant. As you know, the plant was built in 1978. Some improvements have been made along the way, but unfortunately, there's still costs that have to be made to keep it up to current standards. Part of this is a need for an updated automation and SCADA system. The current automation is functional but limited and classified as obsolete. Plus, no SCADA system currently exists. So the way any kind of event occurring at the plant is sort of an archaic way for the superintendent to know of any failures. They do get that, but it's a very outdated system. I'm also actively working for wastewater treatment plant grants at the federal level. I recently established a contact with a representative for U.S. Congressman Nick Langworthy. Actually, I met her at the fireman's dinner the other night, and I emailed her today. We have established contact. My inquiry was based on getting potential grants from the federal government that would fall within the domain of national homeland security. So hopefully that's something that we can benefit from. I'm pursuing that actively right now. And finally, on the streets department, I met with our superintendent, Mr. Scott Marsh, on Friday, May 9th, to discuss the status of the streets department. He informed me that they were extremely busy responding to the recent rainstorm event in which 2 inches of rain fell in a period of 40 minutes. Thanks to Scott and his team for helping the flooded streets, the basements, and especially with flooding at the head end of the wastewater treatment plant where they really ran into a jam. That's it, Mayor.
Thank you. Before we go any further, I just want to bring up a couple of facts. They're going to sound like excuses. I hate excuses. Excuses are for losers. So what we want to look at is a recent study that just not a study, but report that came out by Tom DiNapoli, New York State Comptroller. Fredonia is far from the only community in this state going through what we're going through. It's sad, having grown up in New York State, to see what is going on right now in many, many different communities. Our poverty rate is up to 24% here in the village. Some of our supplies have gone up just since COVID, anywhere from 30 to 60%. As we said, we have contractual obligations. And keep in mind, when you're talking about ambulance costs, we do not charge residents copay, as most communities do. And also, with that 24% poverty rate, the number of bills that are unpaid, and now New York State has a law which will not allow us to collect them or take them to collection. We can project $10 billion this year. But if the bottom line is a high percentage of the community can't afford to pay for those services and yet still need them, then it will always come up as a loss. So finding out how we can plan for that, what we can do better in that area, that's what we do. And that is what we are doing. And it is no different than the work that other village governments have done. It's kind of a shock as to what we're going through, but we are fully aware of our duties, our expectations, but we always will listen to our constituents. I am here 5, 6, sometimes 7 days a week. You're more than welcome to set up meetings. I'll be happy to do so. I'm feeling much better. So may not be here as many hours the next couple of months just because having to go to the doctors and things, but I am certainly available for you at any time. There's no treasurer's report, but there are additional reports. The Fredonia Police Report for the month of April 2025.
Total incidents reported, 727. Fredonia Central Schools call for service, 3. Accidents, 12. Arrests reported, 44. Vehicle and traffic incidents, 108. Domestic incidents, 13. Parking tickets, 54. That's it for tonight.
We thank the men and women of the Fredonia Police Department for the work that they do. Resolutions.
Whereas bids for water meters for the Department of Public Works were publicly opened and read on April 23, 2025. Now therefore be it resolved, after review of bids, TI Sales, 36 Hudson Road, Sudbury, Mass. is hereby awarded the bid for water meters for the village fiscal year commencing June 1, 2025 and ending May 31, 2026 as per attached bid form, a copy of which is attached to and made part of these minutes. Total not to exceed amount budgeted for the 2025-26 fiscal year.
Second?
Trustee Brockler?
Aye.
Trustee Syracuse?
Aye.
Trustee Twitchell?
Aye.
Trustee Wandell?
Aye.
Trustee Esperson?
Aye. Be it resolved that the following bids, being the lowest bid submitted for village fuel, is hereby accepted for the prices set below for the village fiscal year commencing June 1st, 2025, ending May 31st, 2026. NOCO Energy, 2440 Sheridan Drive, Tonawanda, New York, is hereby awarded the bid for unleaded gasoline with dealer markup of 0.175 cent plus the current refinery rack price on day of delivery. Low sulfur diesel fuel with a dealer markup of 0.175 cent plus the current refinery rack price on day of delivery. And all weather diesel fuel with a dealer markup of 0.175 cent plus the current refinery rack price on day of delivery.
Second.
Trustee Brockler?
Aye.
Trustee Syracuse?
Aye.
Trustee Twitchell?
Aye.
Trustee Wandell?
Aye.
Trustee Esperson?
Aye.
Whereas bids for liquefied gas chlorine for the wastewater treatment plant were publicly opened and read on April 23rd, 2025, and whereas David Felt, Chief Operator of the wastewater treatment plant, has reviewed the bids and has recommended awarding the bids to Jones Chemical, now therefore be it resolved that Jones Chemical, 100 Sunny Soul Boulevard, Caledonia, New York, JCI, is hereby awarded the bid for liquefied gas chlorine for the village fiscal year commencing June 1st, 2025 and ending May 31st, 2026 at $2,300 for 2,000 pounds at $1.15 a pound per ton container with no container deposit and no fuel charge for the wastewater treatment plant. Price is subject to change upon a 30-day written notice.
Trustee Wandell?
Aye.
Trustee Twitchell?
Aye.
Trustee Syracuse?
Aye.
Trustee Esperson?
Aye.
Trustee Brockler?
Aye.
Whereas bids for synthetic flocculant for the wastewater treatment plant were publicly opened and read on April 23rd, 2025, and whereas David Felt, Chief Operator of the wastewater treatment plant, has reviewed the bids and has recommended awarding the bid to Polydyne, Inc., 1 Chemical Plant Road, Riceboro, Georgia. Now therefore be it resolved that Polydyne, Inc. is hereby awarded the bid for synthetic flocculant NE at $1.78 per pound for the village fiscal year commencing June 1st, 2025 and ending May 31st, 2026.
Second?
Trustee Brockler?
Aye.
Trustee Esperson?
Aye.
Trustee Syracuse?
Aye.
Trustee Wandell?
Aye.
Trustee Twitchell?
Aye.
Whereas bids for ferric chloride for the wastewater treatment plant were publicly opened and read on April 23rd, 2025, and whereas David Felt, Chief Operator of the wastewater treatment plant, has viewed the bids and has recommended awarding the bid to Camaro Water Solutions, Inc., 4321 West 6th Street, Lawrence, Kansas. Ferric chloride supplied out of our terminal in Buffalo, New York. Now therefore be it resolved that Camaro Water Solutions is hereby awarded the bid for ferric chloride at a price of $1,325 per dry ton, delivered 3 days lead time for the village fiscal year commencing June 1st, 2025 and ending May 31st, 2026.
Second.
Trustee Brockler.
Aye.
Trustee Wendell.
Aye.
Trustee Twitchell.
Aye.
Trustee Syracuse.
Aye.
Trustee Esperson.
Aye.
Whereas bid for polyaluminum chloride for the water filtration plant were publicly opened and read on April 23, 2025, and whereas Louis Fred, Chief Operator of the water filtration plant, has reviewed the bids and has recommended awarding the bid to Applied Specialties, Inc., 33555 Pin Oak Parkway, Avon Lake, Ohio, 44012. Now, therefore, be it resolved, Applied Specialties, Inc. is hereby awarded the bid for polyaluminum chloride for the village fiscal year commencing June 1, 2025, and ending May 31, 2026, at the bid of .746 pound per 55-gallon drum.
Second.
Trustee Esperson.
Aye.
Trustee Syracuse.
Aye.
Trustee Twitchell.
Aye.
Trustee Wendell.
Aye.
Trustee Brockler.
Aye.
Whereas bids for polyorthophosphate for the water filtration plant were publicly opened and read on April 23rd, 2025, and whereas Louis Fred, Chief Operator of the water filtration plant, has reviewed the bids and has recommended awarding the bid to Applied Specialties, Inc., 33555 Pin Oak Parkway, Avon Lake, Ohio, 44012. Now therefore be it resolved that Applied Specialties, Inc. is hereby awarded the bid for polyorthophosphate for the village fiscal year commencing June 1st, 2025 and ending May 31st, 2026 at the bid of $1.74 per pound delivered per 30-gallon drum with no drum deposit.
Second.
Trustee Esperson.
Aye.
Trustee Brockler.
Aye.
Trustee Syracuse.
Aye.
Trustee Wendell.
Aye.
Trustee Twitchell.
Aye.
Whereas bid for
Catonic.
Cationic.
Cationic polymer for the water filtration plant were publicly opened and read on April 23, 2025, and whereas Louis Fred, Chief Operator of the water filtration plant, has reviewed the bids and has recommended awarding the bid to ASI, Inc., 33555 Pin Oak Parkway, Avon Lake, Ohio. Now therefore, be it resolved that ASI is hereby awarded the bid for polycationic polymer for the village fiscal year commencing June 1, 2025 and ending May 31, 2026 at the bid price of .98 pound for 55-gallon drum.
Second.
Trustee Twitchell.
Aye.
Trustee Wendell.
Aye.
Trustee Syracuse.
Aye.
Trustee Brockler.
Aye.
Trustee Esperson.
Aye.
Whereas the Village of Fredonia and the Fredonia Police Benevolent Association have reached an agreement regarding the terms and conditions of employment of the members of said association, and whereas the term of said agreement shall be from June 1st, 2025 to May 31st, 2027, now therefore be it resolved that said agreement is hereby approved and the mayor is authorized to sign said agreement on behalf of the Village of Fredonia.
Second.
Trustee Brockler.
Aye.
Trustee Wendell.
Aye.
Trustee Twitchell. Trustee.
I know, I'm thinking about this. I wasn't part of the contracts discussion, but I'll vote aye.
Trustee Syracuse.
Aye.
Trustee Esperson.
Aye.
Be it resolved that recommendation of Kayla Sullivan, Director of Fredonia, Comfort Recreation Department, Angela McCoyak, Cushing Street, is hereby appointed to a seasonal position for the 2025 summer recreation programs, effective immediately at a rate of $20 per hour.
Second.
Trustee Esperson.
Aye.
Trustee Brockler.
Aye.
Trustee Syracuse.
Aye.
Trustee Wendell.
Aye.
Trustee Twitchell.
Aye.
Whereas proposed local law number 5 of 2025 has been prepared and submitted to the Village Board of Trustees to consider for adoption, and whereas proposed local law number 5 of 2025 would establish Chapter 198 of the Village of Fredonia Code entitled A Local Law Establishing Chapter 198 of the Village of Fredonia Code entitled Vendors, and whereas pursuant to Section 20 of Municipal Home Rule Law of the State of New York, a public hearing was duly held on Monday, April 28th, 2025, and all parties in attendance were permitted an opportunity to speak in support of or in opposition to said proposed local law or any part thereof. And whereas the Board of Trustees of the Village of Fredonia, after due deliberation, finds in the best interest of the village to adopt said local law, and now therefore be it resolved, the Village of Fredonia hereby adopts said local law as local law number 5 of 2025, entitled A Local Law Establishing Chapter 198 of the Village of Fredonia Code entitled Vendors, a copy of which is attached hereto and made a part hereof. And be it further resolved that the Village of Fredonia clerk is directed to enter the local law in the minutes of this meeting and in the local law book of the Village of Fredonia, to give due notice of the adoption of said local law to the Secretary of State by filing the same with Secretary of State as required by law.
Second.
Okay, before we go into the vote, wasn't there amendments that need to be made to this?
No.
No.
We're gonna
No.
not
Okay.
make any amendments, but we will need to pass some additional resolutions down the road.
Trustee Wendell?
On that basis, I vote aye.
Trustee Syracuse?
Aye.
Trustee Esperson?
Aye.
Trustee Brockler?
Aye.
Trustee Twitchell?
Aye.
We have one more. It's a walkout.
No, there's several more.
There's more.
Oh, go ahead. Oh, yes, there is.
Page 9.
They keep going.
Page, Twitchell.
Page 9.
Page 8.
Page eight.
Page 8.
I got 9.
No, you should have 9.
Yeah, go to page 8.
Page 8.
Michelle.
Page 8.
No, we still got
That-
one.
Yep,
I don't have a page.
yep, right there.
Don't you
Oh,
miss
there
this,
it
Frank?
is.
Want to read that, or?
Oh, because you got to flip it over.
Yeah,
Okay.
they're double-sided.
She did it both.
Double-sided.
That's
Saves
what threw
paper.
me off. Okay, I found it.
You got it?
Whereas the agreement with the Pomfret Water District requires village approval for all new water services, and whereas the town of Pomfret has received an application of a commercial water service at 10374 Bennett Road. Can I put the name of that company in?
O'Reilly?
It's O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Okay, thank you. O'Reilly Auto Parts. And whereas the Pomfret Town Board will have this on their agenda to approve the application at the next Town Board meeting, May 14th, 2024. Now therefore, be it resolved that the Village of Fredonia hereby approves the commercial water service connection at 10374 Bennett Road, Fredonia, New York.
I'll second that as amended by Trustee Twitchell.
Thank you.
Trustee Brockler?
Aye.
Trustee Syracuse?
Aye.
Trustee Wendell?
Aye.
Trustee Twitchell?
Aye.
Trustee Esperson?
Aye.
A resolution levying the total taxes and other charges extended and levied against each parcel of real property shown on a roll prepared and verified by the assessors for the 2025-2026 fiscal year. Be it resolved that there be levied and assessed against the real property of the Village of Fredonia the following sums for village government and other charges for the fiscal year 2025-2026 at a rate of $61.25 per thousand assessed valuation. Total charges for current budget, $4,882,044. Delinquent water, rents, and charges, $181,988.63. Delinquent sewer rents and charges, $156,055.36. Total real property taxes and other charges on the roll, $5,220,087.99. And be it further resolved that the receiver of taxes be and is hereby directed to levy, assess, and apportion upon the real and personal property liable to taxation in the Village of Fredonia a tax rate of $61.25 per $1,000 of valuation upon said assessment roll, and be it further resolved that the warrant to the tax receiver be executed and delivered to the tax receiver for the collection of unpaid taxes and assessment, water and sewer rentals outstanding and unpaid together with interest and penalties as provided by law, and be it further resolved that the mayor is hereby authorized to execute a warrant to the receiver of taxes, which warrant shall also be endorsed by the Board of Trustees as required by law, and be it further resolved that the village clerk is hereby authorized to deliver said warrant to the receiver of taxes as required by law.
Second.
Trustee Esperson?
Aye.
Trustee Brockler?
Aye.
Trustee Syracuse?
Aye.
Trustee Wendell?
Aye.
Trustee Twitchell?
I didn't agree with the tax rate, so I'm going to say nay.
Be resolved that the training request of Scott Marsh, supervisor at the Village Department of Public Works, to attend the 2025 Annual Highway School for Superintendents in Ithaca, New York, June 1st, June 4th, 2025, is hereby approved at a cost not to exceed $525.
Second.
Trustee Brockler?
Aye.
Trustee Syracuse?
Yeah, aye.
Trustee Twitchell?
Aye.
Trustee Wendell?
Aye.
Trustee Esperson?
Aye.
Be it resolved that summer recreation fees will be $20 per person for the 2025 season, effective immediately.
Before we go into this, as we discussed in the workshop, we want to thank Attorney John Gullo for his time and effort, where we have this covered in full by many generous donations. Some people are in this room to the village, and there is also an access which can go to either supplies or equipment that the summer rec program could need. So that $20 will be paid in full by the generous donations.
I was against this, so I'm not going to second it.
I'll second it.
Trustee Syracuse?
Aye.
Trustee Brockler?
Aye.
Trustee Esperson?
Aye.
Trustee Wendell?
Aye.
Trustee Twitchell?
Nay.
Be it resolved that pursuant to Section 5520 of Village Law, the following budget transfers are hereby approved. $1,875.57, A2770 miscellaneous income grants to H8989.2 cable equipment.
Second.
Okay, before we vote, once again, I want to remind the public this is paid for through grants. Trustee Esperson?
Aye.
Trustee Brockler?
Aye.
Trustee Syracuse?
Aye.
Trustee Wendell?
Aye.
Trustee Twitchell?
Aye. Whereas the village received a grant through the franchise agreement for new equipment for the cable department, and whereas the cable department has selected to purchase a Fujian, pronouncing it right, MS-01 rear zoom and focus lens control kit, as well as a Mackie Pro FX16V3 16-channel sound reinforcement mixer, B&H Photo Video, New York, New York, in the amount of $1,875.57. And whereas the cable equipment is suitable for the village's purpose, therefore, be it resolved that the village board hereby authorizes the purchase of the lens control kit and sound reinforcement mixer with the grant funds from B&H Photo Video for $1,875.57.
Second.
Trustee Esperson?
Aye.
Trustee Brockler?
Aye.
Trustee Syracuse? Trustee Wendell?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm sorry, I went a little fast there. It's been a little light. Trustee Twitchell?
Aye.
Be it resolved that the training request fire chief to travel outside of Chautauqua County for the purpose of attending the recruit firefighter training graduation of Bryce Fisher in Montour Falls, May 21, 2025, at a cost not to exceed $130 is hereby authorized.
Second.
Trustee Wendell?
Aye.
Trustee Twitchell?
Aye.
Trustee Syracuse?
Aye.
Trustee Brockler?
Aye.
Trustee Esperson?
Aye.
Be it resolved that the regular and overtime payrolls of the various village departments and bills approved by the Finance Committee and set forth in abstract 756 through 762 are hereby approved and directed, paid, and available in the village clerk's office, 9 to 11 Church Street, Fredonia, New York.
Second.
Trustee Esperson?
Aye.
Trustee Brockler?
Aye.
Trustee Syracuse?
Aye.
Trustee Wendell?
Aye.
Trustee Twitchell?
Aye.
Be resolved that the board authorizes the canvassing of the firefighter civil service list in anticipation of an upcoming retirement.
Second.
Trustee Esperson?
Aye.
Trustee Brockler?
Aye.
Trustee Syracuse?
Aye.
Trustee Wendell?
Aye.
Trustee Twitchell?
Aye. Be it resolved that pursuant to Section 5-520 of Village Law, the following budget transfers are hereby approved. $3,000 from G8 8130.43 sewage treatment training travel to G8 130413 sewage treatment chemicals. $1,000 from G1420.1 attorney professional services to G8110.41 sanitation administration supplies. $2,000 from G140.1 attorney professional services to G8110.44 sanitation administration contractual. $20,000 from G8120.1 sanitary sewer personnel to G9060.8 employee benefit hospital and medical. $33,000 from G130.1 sewage treatment plant personnel to G9060.8 employee benefit hospital and medical. $8,000 from G9030.8 employee benefit social security to G9060.8 employee benefit hospital and medical. $2,000 from F1420.1 attorney professional services to F8310.44 water administration contractual. $30,000 from F8330.1 purification personnel to F8330.41 purification supplies. $4,000 from F8320.41 purification supplies water purchase to F8330.4 purification utilities. $7,000 from F9060.8 employee benefits hospital and medical to 9030.8 employee benefits social security. $200 from A3410.44 contractual to A1325.41 treasurer supplies. $50 from A3410.44 fire contractual to A1325.42 treasurer utilities. $10,000 from A410.44 fire contractual to A1325.44 treasurer contractual. $2,000 from 3410.44 fire contractual to A1410.1 clerk personnel. $50 from 3410.44 fire contractual to A1410.42 clerk utilities. $2,000 from A3410.44 fire contractual to A1410.44 clerk contractual. $1,400 from A3410.44 fire contractual to A1620.41 building and ground supplies. $11,000 from A3410.44 fire contractual to A1620.41 buildings and grounds utilities. $6,000 from A3410.44 fire contractual to A1620.44 buildings and grounds contractual. $1,500 from A3410.44 fire contractual to A3120.49 police maintenance equipment. $6,000 from A3410.44 fire contractual to H3410.2 fire hot water tank. $1,000 from 3410.44 fire contractual to A4540.41 ambulance supplies. $15,000 from A3410.44 fire contractual to A5110.1 maintenance of roads personnel. $9,000 from A3410.44 fire contractual to A5110.42 maintenance of roads utilities phone. $700 from A5142.11 snow removal overtime to A5110.43 maintenance of roads travel and training. $3,500 from A3410.44 fire contractual to A5110.44 maintenance of roads contractual. $5,000 from A3410.44 fire contractual to A5110.47 maintenance of roads, gasoline. $8,000 from 3410.44 fire contractual to A5110.49 maintenance of roads, equipment maintenance. $500 from A5142.11 snow removal overtime to A5110.412 maintenance of roads, clothing allowance. $300 from A3410.44 fire contractual to A3510.44 control of dogs contractual. $50 from A7110.44 parks contractual to A7110.41 parks supplies. $130 from A7111.1 parks Russell Joy personnel to A7111.41 parks Joy supply. $400 from A3410.44 fire contractual to A7111.41 parks Russell Joy utilities phone. $250 from A3410.44 fire contractual to A7140.42 recreation utilities phone. $1,300 from A3410.44 fire contractual to A8010.1 zoning personnel. $600 from A3410.44 contractual to A8010.41 zoning supplies. $1,500 from A2705 gifts and donations to A8989.44 cable contractual. $61,000 from A9785.6 installment purchase fire truck to A9785.7 installment purchase interest. $6,200 from A3410.44 fire contractual to A8560.44 shade trees.
Could you read that list again, please?
Oh.
We have one more. That was a walk-on.
This, we have to second it.
Oh, okay. Trustee Esperson?
Aye.
Trustee
No,
Brockman?
wait, we have to have a second.
I'm sorry, we need a
He
second.
did.
You
did second.
You?
Yeah.
Okay.
Trustee
I'm sorry.
Esperson? Trustee Brockler?
Aye.
Trustee Syracuse?
Aye.
Trustee Wendell?
Aye.
Trustee Twitchell?
Aye.
Last one.
Okay, the last one. Whereas the village requires a new hot water tank for the fire department, and whereas the Pro Drain Cleaning and Plumbing, Fredonia, New York, provided a quote for a commercial hot water tank and installation in the amount of $4,200, and whereas the hot water tank is suitable for the village's purpose. Therefore, be it resolved, the village board hereby authorizes the payment for the hot water tank and installation at the fire department in the amount of $4,200 to Pro Drain Cleaning and Plumbing.
Second.
Trustee Esperson?
Aye.
Trustee Brockler?
Aye.
Trustee Syracuse?
Aye.
Trustee Wendell?
Aye.
Trustee Twitchell?
Aye.
Okay, before we go, I want to thank the two students who clearly went through the longest meeting that I've had in the year and a half that I've been here. And if your parents are watching, they're still here. I know they probably said, oh, you'll be done in an hour. But thank you for being here, and you can come up and get we'll sign that for you when you're ready. We will be going into an executive session, so we ask that we clear the room. The next meeting is scheduled. Don't forget, we have a holiday coming up. The Village of Fredonia Board of Trustees workshop and board meeting will take place Tuesday, May 27th, 2025 at 6 p.m. in the trustee room, second floor, Village Hall, board meeting to follow. Can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion, we enter executive session to discuss employment at DPW and contractual with the fire department.
Second?
I'll second that.
Trustee Syracuse?
Of note, I will be recusing myself from any contractual negotiations
Okay.
for the fire department.
Trustee Wendell?
Aye.
Trustee Twitchell?
Aye.
Trustee Brockler?
Aye.
Trustee Esperson?
Aye.
Good night, everybody. Have a great evening.